Midlife crisis. Yes, that's a feather, because my mind and spirit are always in the sky, for the most part. And when you get older, they call it a midlife crisis. There was a time where people were like, how do you remain so happy? Why are you always so happy? You know? I used to just paint little pictures and do things like that and ponder and dream. And then, it got to a point where the older you get, life starts hitting you and you realize that, there are things that are not in your control that you really can't do nothing about. So you have to find a way to work with them, And for me, not necessarily like take on the idea that when in Rome, you have to act like Romans do, because that's stupid. That's subservience, and that doesn't promote change. It promotes stagnation. But so you get older, and they say it's a midlife crisis, and then you got like psychological terms like the id, the ego, and the superego, and all them things. And you get to the point where you accept that the world is like it is, but do you accept yourself? I've accepted myself, and I've given myself a journey. I've given myself a purpose, and I've given myself a plight with cause. And, I've based a principle on all this, and all this defines my principle, of individuality, independence. I'm a pioneer in the sense of my own path of life. And there's definitely other paths of life that I've taken into consideration and worked towards going down that other people have defined. But, I look at my path as a parallel. And I know that when you do that, you can't expect anything really, because these are uncharted waters for the most part. You have to find sustenance, you have to find a sense of security, you have to find places and acquire and procure them in a way that, you could exist without being cut down. And I'm still really happy. I mean, I'm always happy in many ways, because what I've been through has defined what the difference between freedom and not being free is, and having liberties or not having liberty is. What injustice is and what justice is. And I fought for all three of those things, and I've acquired them, and I've preserved them, and I've prevailed with them. But the older you get, you find frustration with circumstances and situations. And, you just get tired of doing things 2 or 3 times, 10, 20 times, 30, 40 times. You do. You get tired of starting over and stuff. And, just as an introduction to this subject, at a very early age in life, I was 7, and I seen a parallel universe. And, I grew up in a place where 14 miles from the nearest store, my friends and my playground was, woods, 800 acres of government land where there was animals and trees and all kind of stuff. There was a place in Tilson where there was this big hole. It was like the size of, say, like a pool. And, you get close to it and it's black down there. You could throw a rock and not even hear the bottom of it. And people used to drive their four-wheelers and stuff. And I stood on next to this hole once, and it was extremely scary. So it's like the world had so much mystique in it. So with that, I saw a parallel universe, and I was forced to go to school and participate in certain things. Very small farmland, and every like Halloween, all the kids used to go to the firehouse and bob for apples out of a trough with the same water. All the kids slobbering there. That was disgusting. And your closest friends really were your parents and any neighbors, which were for the most part were like a football field away, and not there that often. But in seeing this parallel universe, I knew the difference between life and death and reality and dictated existence. And long story short, I had a thermometer collection from Broken Thermometers. It was mercury, and my father always told me don't don't eat that, it'll kill you. And like at 7 years old, I sat in my room. The carpet in the room and the wood paneling was brown wood paneling, and the carpet was like yellow and orange, and it irritated me because those are beautiful colors of nature, of course, but they're not soothing colors. So, and having to go to school, life was rough. So it was about a nickel size worth of mercury if it was flat on the table or something. So I had it in this vial, and I put it in this piece of loose leaf paper, and I rolled it around, and I decided while I was sitting on my bed, I still remember today, clear as day, and I creased the center of that paper, and I opened my mouth, and I thought about it, and I ate that mercury. And I'm still here today, and I was in disbelief because, it just I just opened my mouth and zoom. It wasn't quick. It was a really thought out thing. And I didn't taste nothing, and I looked all over for it. And I just did it really go down? Did I miss? But I didn't. And then for a long time when I would run, I would have this click go in my brain when I would jog, because I tried jogging and playing soccer and stuff, and I always had this click. I was always thinking, maybe the mercury made a space up in there or something, But anyway, so like at that point, I realized that, suicide is not an option. You can't kill yourself. And there was a couple other times of things that would have took me out too, and I just didn't go out like that. And, the, 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 the Spirit of the Almighty, the power of goodness, and the force of creation says, spoke to me many times in ways, and through other people, and through angels and devils, saying, you're here for a reason. And that had instilled a belief and trust in me. So no matter what the situation is, I always knew from that point, and even to this very day, that there is a light that shines infinitely and perpetually. And, it is outside of us, but it starts from within inside. And if you live in fear, or you live in resent, or hate, or anger, or angst, or jealousy, or selfishness, you're not going to see this within yourself, because your focus and your perspective is on the outside world. And a lot of people do live like that. And there's many reasons, because not everybody grew up in a perfect world. My world was not perfect. My parents stayed together until I was 18. And, that was the right thing for them to do. And in a way, it was the right thing for me. Although there are social deficits that I have pains and depression about, because I don't understand, and I have less interactions at 46-year-old than most people have had. I think, and it cuts me out of a lot of things. But, I've went inside myself to the degree where I know who I am. I spent a lot of time alone. I've got canvases, notebooks, sketchbooks, pieces of paper to prove it in the form of sculptures, writings, paintings, pictures, drawings, schematics, blueprints, inventions, and I'm talking like 30-something years, and I embrace this. And, like in 2013, I made some bad choices by ignoring certain aspects of people I was with, and the law came into my life, I believe, based on these other people that were in my life, that I've accepted in my life, with a chance that, hey, if we're sharing something, just keep going on this and ditch your old life if this is better. And they couldn't do it. So what happened is the law came in, and the law profiled and screwed me up because of my connectivity to these people. And that wasn't the right thing either, okay? It wasn't bad for me. It was bad for the law, and it was bad for those people. So in fighting for that, for my freedom through that, my mind was already gone. And, my career momentum as an artist, if you can relate to a creative endeavor in your life, when you are a creative person, you are building an empire. You're building a universe. And, it has a climactic point to where your life's work will converge with your reality, and you'll be able to, construct and materialize this reality. And at the point where, which was many other points too, but not in this way, but at the point in 2013 where the law came into my life, and beat me up, profiled me, first beat me up, ran a malicious prosecution. I lost my career. I lost my momentum as an artist. I lost my focus. I lost my social and administrative customer and base of people that supported this. And other things were going on too, like with the National Drivers Registry, with people screwing me from, fender benders and car sales, where the DMV and insurance and National Drivers Registry screwed me too and suspended my stuff. And I fought for everything, and I've always saved my paperwork and I cleared everything up. But what I'm saying is there was so many things that derailed me and prevented me from fulfilling my career and fulfilling my, ambition as a person in society to be a figure, and I'll always be an artist, and I'll say that, if Salvatore Dali was alive, I would have a sword fight duel with rapiers with him to the death, because he was privileged, and I'll smoke his ass. You put Picasso out there, you put Da Vinci out there, you put Pollock out there. I mean, a lot of these people I could be friends with. Some of them are like, they're competition for me, even though they're dead. Okay, now Van Gogh he was cool. I know somebody that reminds me of Van Gogh, and he's artistic in a way, not the same as me, but he gets the respect. Hey, Russell. And, so it's like, with these things considered, I lost my career and my standing in society as a prominent artist. And at the time, like, I had acquired a McDonald's account, and I wanted to have my artwork on packaging and cups and commercials. I tried to work for MTV and been shut down because, they have so many applicants, and I had my way. I was going to get in there for VH1 and everything, and this was still ongoing to that day, that evening of October 20th of 2013, where the police came in and treated me unjustly, But I also, along my course and journey of life, I discovered Martin Luther King, okay? Way after I learned about Gandhi, and many others, and I knew then at that point that, when he said, "I have a dream" speech, what a beautiful man. I embodied that, and I stood on that, and my core value has come from a place where my spirit will not wither, and nor will my belief in certain things. And that has to start with myself, within me. And where do I get that? Yes, the people around me have endorsed that and supported that, but something put those people in my life. Something gave me the situation to where I was able to live and be protected by people and by forces. So I never took this for granted, and I always felt like I had something more that's external, let's get flippy. Talk about astral projection. Let's talk about auras. Let's talk about ghosts. Let's talk about channeling. Let's talk about vibration and frequency and intent and power of words. I'm still working with the power of words. That's not an easy one, because, other people take things out of context and it dirties it up. Like I always said, Jesus would say, "Hey, fucking A, man." That doesn't mean he's, bad, because if he said that, he would curse. He was a cool cat. We would have hung out together, I'm sure, and go for walks and stuff. Talked about stuff. A lot of people in reflection that I do that with on occasion, often. But, like, this belief system that I had allows me, and had allowed me in the past, and allows me still to this day, to be a positive individual, that goes with light, even though I embrace the darkness for what it is, because to understand it, I've had to live in it. I've had to embody a characteristic of it to survive, because there's people that will offend you and come into your life, and sometimes you have to puff up and be aggressive to protect yourself. You don't have to commit acts of violence. That's a line that's way different. And when other people commit acts of violence, If your belief system is intact, you will survive. You will make it. And your circumstance, you can't think about your circumstance. You just got to think about preservation. Okay? If somebody comes at you with a knife, you may get stabbed. Okay? But at the same token, you know, in getting stabbed, you may not die. It may not hurt an organ where you're going to be, like crippled forever or something. And you may go through trials and tribulations, just like what I went through with the law. And it's 7 years later after the incident. It was 802 days that I fought, and had been free finally after. And I did jail time, too, as an innocent man. And the things that I've learned, just give me knowledge and wisdom, which is not what I wanted, but it had replaced the space that I wanted to fill up, and that was kept sacred and sanctuous for me as a person to always hide in. But you can't hide now because other people can't hide now, so I wouldn't have been able to hide now anyway. So I can embody and project, and I won't participate in negativity. I won't create negativity. But I do acknowledge negativity, and it's a darkness. It's a dark side of me, and I in a third person perspective, I reflect on what I lost in my innocence and in my whole aura, and like a lot of people see the truth, but there's very few of them compared to the reality of people who don't out there, and people ignore me, people run from me. People, make it a point to, prevent interaction with me in a lot of ways. And, I know this is a reality. Not only have I been told, but I've been affected by it, and I see it, and it happens a lot. And you just stay in one spot for a while, and you'll see. They'll come like curious little ants, and then they'll just say hello, and then all of a sudden, after a couple times, they're like, I'm going to take another street. And to me it's like, it's sheep, because there's a big bad monster in the corner of our village, hiding within the government and authority services. It's not the government, it's not the authoritative agencies, it's individuals. And, you see these people act the same way towards yourself sometimes as they do with these other people, just not in the right tone, because they're not presented with a badge or a gun or authoritative paperwork. So, but you get the same treatment, and you notice it, especially being on both sides. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's all about projecting a good light. It's about prevailing with positivity. So even though I have negative days and I get depressed, sometimes I wake up and I don't feel like so optimistic to the point where I feel like life is going to be fulfilling for another 34 years for me to be 70. Dang. I mean, for me to be 80, it's another 34 years, 33 and a half years, 33 years. So, and then sometimes I go to sleep like that too, and I go to sleep, and literally there's been, even days this month where I go to sleep and, my bed is empty and it's cold. And I'm like, you know what, this sucks. And then I reflect on all the bad women that I've had in my life, and I don't blame them. I blame them for the way they treated me, but I'm not mad at them for being who they are, because not everybody's strong enough. So, you got to find it within yourself. You really have to find it within yourself to make life work and to keep a positive attitude. And, I'll call out a few names, okay? Like I said, Martin Luther King, Abraham Hicks, Alan Watts, Sun Tzu, Nietzsche. There's a lot of philosophers and people out there, we could make up some too. I'm watching squirrels playing a tree. Maybe if I came back as a squirrel, that'd probably be pretty neat, right? Anyway, so to a degree, it's up to you at the end of the day to remain positive. And if you're not positive, you're going to invite the negativity in there. Like, you can be negative, I would say 65%. this is just a roundabout number, you could actually be negative 65% in the day, not around other people, because then you'll invite trouble and then you'll get engulfed in crap you don't even want to deal with and you probably can't handle. So if you are by yourself and you could learn to be by yourself, and in a predicament by yourself, you could be negative 65% of the day. But you have to intermittently check in with a positive light, or else your life will start to be more engulfed with negativity. And then with interactions that you're forced to interact with other people, that negativity will show in an outward manner rather than just in a facade or face value. So if you're going to be negative, you have to learn that it's an effect and it's a power that is for you to distinguish the light in you. And with this, you will be able to use the light to your advantage. Because all it takes is one little spark, one little reflection to notice something. Like, in a crossword puzzle or something, or word find, it's like you're flooded with a bunch of words, of letters. And sometimes one or two letters will shine out and you'll see the word of enlightenment that leads you to discover. So if you don't take that equation, that analogy, and define anything in your daily life with light that's based on innocence, not selfish needs, or okay, yeah, I like to eat ants. It's an analogy, okay? I don't want to point fingers and make anybody feel bad. It's not my intent right this second. Okay, so if it's not a selfish yearning that you're feeling light about, then, you will actually have a genuine shining light within you. Okay, if you could think of something positive about yourself, if you are independent in any kind of way, whether it's body, thought, mind, living circumstance, geographical area, being embellished with people or material objects or something, if you can reflect on that for, I think what they said is 16 seconds, I don't even need 16 seconds. You will start to feel positive again, and you will see other light things because it will reflect within you, inside of you. And you have to do that. And, even being able to take 10 seconds to say to yourself, just breathe. I need to breathe. Then that shows that you are shining a light within you to search for a light. And to have the ability to acknowledge that within yourself, for yourself, as a form of safety and care, is a light within itself. And it will reflect. Trust me, it will. But you have to do it every day, or else you'll get consumed by darkness. And you'll have a bad world and a bad time. And you won't trust anybody, and you'll have resent, and you'll have jealousy, and you'll be competitive to the point where, it will be a negative thing, no matter how much positivity you want to put out there. And if you do project positivity, even if it's fake, don't just leave it on the table and then go back to being you. Think that, okay, what can I do to depthen that effect within myself and root that positivity, so this way I can guarantee that in every entity that I interact with, there will be a positive side of me, that will not be covered up by lies and deception and taking advantage of things and taking things for granted and not reciprocating and all these things. And I'm not speaking about anybody specific, although if people watch this, they know that. I know that it could pertain to them, but it's really not, because it's just about my perspective on me and what I want to share with anyone else out there, including the people that I do have grapes, like my purple shirt, with. So it's like, sometimes they're sour, they're not always sweet, but at least there's water in them grapes, and there's nourishment in there. And if there's a seed, you can grow more grapes. And depending on the soil and fertilizer and care that you give, and light that you give these sour grapes, they could grow up to be a beautiful vine of succulent, sweet, plump, delicious grapes. And that's what we really want at the end of the day. Okay? We want to eat well, we want to take care of our bodies, and we want to have good energy and a good attitude and a positive way about us. So you can simplify things by reflecting that light within you. I know I distract myself with the grape subject because they're just so delicious, aren't they? Peace, y'all. I hope that you get what you want. I express nothing but goodness and positivity. And there's no need to reply. There's no need to comment. There's no need to subscribe unless you want to. I'm not going to ask anybody anything of that. Because your fate will allow you to feel if you want to connect and have my aura in your life, as I will peer into yours occasionally. Because you matter to me. And I hope that the things I say matter, and not just in a way that, excites you for the 1 second. Because it's about the rest of your life. And I want to be happy too. And for that frustration and letdown of the outside world, in my midlife crisis, if I know that you're gonna try to be happy, it will make things better for all of us. So please help yourself. It's worth it. Look in the mirror and say, am I worth it? What changes could you make to your life that you can actually, what? Stop being lazy. Stop procrastinating. Okay? Stop treating yourself so bad. Okay? Just shine some kind of way and grow with it and reflect it